Hello everyone. I really hope that you guys are enjoying this series and we have already seen how to move a rectangle with keyboard input and also saw how to restrict to not let it go outside of our main window. So in this part of the tutorial, we're going to learn how signals and slots work, and this is a very important topic inside Qt framework, and almost any program or any software built on Qt uses this thing, and it is also famous for having signal and slot. So this is nothing more than an event driven mechanism inside Qt. So for example, to let you have an example, when you push a button, it needs to do something, right? So these connections like have like button, and then while pushing the button it does something. These connections, these event driven connections, like user pushed a button, now there's going to be a process that's going to run inside the device. These connection, the signal of pushing the button getting connected with the executing process is done by signal and slots inside of our Qt framework. So in the screen, I have this picture explaining how this could work. So with signal and slot, you can connect two different objects. You can connect between like the same object as well. Like you can have a connection of signal and slot for the same object, and you can have a connection between two different objects, and you can have multiple objects as well. So object is what? It is just an instance of the class. So we have a class, you create an instance, that is the object, right? So we can connect two different objects. That means that I can connect my function with another function of a different class. And why do I need it inside Qt framework? So if you see on the screen, I have object 1 as a mobile phone and I have object 2 as another mobile phone. So whenever I send a signal, let's say whenever I send a signal as a form of signal, it goes to object 2, and then when it receives that signal or knows that this signal has been emitted or this signal has been started, that signal is out there, then it processes our slot, which happens to be the part of object 2. The slot will have the process. It's just like a function which will have a statement on what to do, what to execute. So how do you connect this signal to this slot of a different object? With this connect function given by QObject. QObject is the main class or the main source code for our Qt, which we also inherited in our main class. So everything that you use inside Qt will be inherited from QObject to inherit its property, to inherit the features given by Qt. So this connect function, what it does is it says give me the sender object. So our sender object is object 1 and our receiver object is what? Object 2. So sender object is going to send a signal. So we are giving two parameters. The first one is the sender object, object 1, and the signal is the object 1 signal, and our receiver is object 2, that is the third parameter, and the slot that needs to run after that signal coming is our slot. So now to show you another example, I have taken this image from the Qt website, which explains signal and slot better than anything out there. So I have multiple different objects here. You can create multiple different objects, right, of different classes. So object 1 has a signal. If you see this flow diagram, object 1 has a signal. It's just like a function. Imagine a class has a function. Similarly, a class can have a signal, and I'm going to show you. You already saw, I guess I have already shown you how to use a signal, but not the slot. So I'm going to show you that as well. But you know how to initiate a function inside C++, right? How to write a definition in the class. Similarly, you have to write a definition for signals and slot. Just imagine it as a function. So in our class, there are functions or methods, let's say, methods. When I'm saying that object 1, when the signal 1 is, let's read the code first and then see the diagram. It says connect object 1 of the signal 1 When object 1 signal 1, which is like sender is object 1 and it is sending the signal 1, then it is saying like object 2 slot 1 should be run. This first connect function is doing when object 1 is sending signal 1, just connect the object 2 slot 1. And similarly, if you see the second connect function, which is saying object 1 signal 1 is released, object 2 slot 2 needs to be connected. So these two functions can be in a different part of the code, like in a different section of our source file. When this function is executed, our object 1 signal 1 is ran in the both cases, but in one case the object 2 runs the slot 1, but in another case it runs the slot 2, and slot 1 can have a different function and slot 2 can have a different function, and it is coming, it will get ran with the same signal. And you might be thinking, why is the signal 1 is able to connect with two different slots? See, when this connect function is called, when this is called, the parameters are different, right? If you see the parameter is different, even though the signal is the same, it is saying that if this signal is coming, in one case it is saying run this slot, in another case it's saying run this slot. So that means with the same signal you can run different processes. For example, to give you an example of a real life scenario, you have a switch. Let's say you have a normal switch. Turning the switch on and off itself is a signal. It is a signal, right? It is not the power source to turn on the light, or it is not a power source to turn on anything. It is just a signal of turning the thing on. It is powered by something else. It is processed by electricity. It is processed by other mechanism, but the turning and off part is just a signal. So when it is turned on, the process of lighting the bulb is a slot. So when it receives that the switch is on, the light is glowing, which is a process, or the slot you can say. And when the switch is turned on, you can also think like I can like light the bulb and also the fan with the same switch. That is possible, right? In the same sense, with the signal 1, I can run either slot 1 or slot 2 by choice. And wherever this connect function is called, this will process similarly. In other function, you can see I can connect with one or more object, like our object 1 signal 2 is connected with the object 4's slot 1. So connect object 1 signal 2 object 4 slot 1. So sender is sending the signal and receiver is receiving that signal and then saying this slot to run with this function. So connect is the main function that is doing everything, connecting one signal with one slot, and it decides which signal to connect with which slot, and like connecting different signals with different slot. Let's see the example code for this so everything becomes more clearer. But in the theory part, this is it. And also notice that this connect function is going to take the address of object 1 and object 2 because its parameter is in pointers. So if you know C++, if you are passing the parameter while calling in address, that means that the parameter is sent as a pointers. So whenever you call this connect function, you have to provide the address of your parameters. Let's say address of your class, address of your signal, address of your object, another receiver object, and address of your slot, like using AND before your object name, similar to that. We're gonna see how it works in the code part. Okay. So I was able to show you how signal and slot works as a theory, but I want to show you as a code. So before showing anything else, I want to create two different classes so that I can make two different objects and then connect those two objects with signals and slot. And I know this sounds very confusing, and it might be getting overwhelming for you guys to understand the concept, but please watch the code, and I hope the code will be able to clarify much more clear than what I said by showing pictures. So let's move forward. I'm gonna fast forward the video to make two classes. So, or not, I'll just show you how to class. Maybe it takes 2 minutes more. Okay, so I'm gonna go to add new class. say class 1 include QObject, add QObject, because we're going to use signal and slot, so that is a part of Qt, so I need QObject, or else in normal C++ we don't even have signal and slot, so that's not even possible without a QObject. So add new, another class will be class 2. This is going to be our class 2. And class 1, let's quickly inherit from public QObject so that I can use signal and slot inside of it. See, now I want to send a signal from QObject. So for giving the signal, like I also showed in last video, you just have to write signals like our public, but signal is always going to be public, so you cannot write private signals like this. It's going to give you an error because signal is always public. So signals, and then I'm going to just say void and then print it. So printed is going to be our signal. So it doesn't have a definition, it's not going to have a definition in class 1, neither it is going to have a return type, because it is only there to act as a signal. Like I said in the last video, its only purpose is to be a signal, not to process any code, not to execute anything, not to process anything. It's just there as a signal. Its only purpose is to exist and then notify something. So in our class 2, I'm going to have, I also want to inherit this from public QObject, so I can easily use the feature which is signal and slot. Everything is coming from QObject. Sorry for the typo. Oops. I guess I forgot to include QObject for this class while creating the class. See? Include QObject, and then now I can use public QObject. I also forgot to add the QObject mock. So everywhere we have this QObject mock, and we have this include QObject, and then only we can inherit from it. So by creating class, I forgot to include those. That's why I had to manually include it. Don't get confused, please. So in the class 2, what I want to do is I want to have a slot, and slots can be either public or private, just like a function inside of class. So I'm going to make it public for now, but you can also have a private slots. So public, and then slot is just like a regular function, nothing complicated, just think of regular function. So this function is just going to print, so it's going to print, so it's not going to return anything, so I'll just say void print, and I'm just going to say I'm going to add qdebug, so qdebug is nothing but a message outputting header file, so I'll just say qdebug and then say have printed. So this is just to like debug inside Qt, just like a cout, but generally it's not a good practice to use standard cout or anything for debugging. So with this header file you can use this qdebug function, which is just like a C++ cout, and then write whatever you want to output in the prompt or in the terminal. It does the same work, but normally it's a good thing to use qdebug inside Qt. Nothing complicated, don't overthink this. This is just a simple cout kind of thing. You're gonna need this as well to debug while if you want to output something on the console. But yeah, let's move forward. And I have printed it. Now I want to, what I want to do, whenever this signal is executed, this signal is signaled, and I want to print this, I want to run this function. And for that to happen, what I'm going to do is I want to go to main.cpp here, and I'm going to connect, I want to connect those signals and slots. So for them to work, I need to quickly include their header files. Class 1 header, include class 2 header. I can make their object instance just like this. So I forgot if their class name is class 1, class 2. Okay. Sorry, main.cpp class 1, class 1, class 2, class 2. See, I have now instance of there, so I can connect with the connect function, which takes the parameter as sender and the signal and receiver object and the slot to execute. So how is this going to work is, for a sender, who is our sender? Our sender is class 1. So class 1 type, we have class 1, this is because I already declared it here. So class 1, our signal is going to be printed, which is in class 1. So and printed belongs to this class 1 function. So I'm going to use class 1, and what is the function name? Printed, right? What is the signal name? It is the signal actually. So you don't have to put this on, then it's gonna give you error. Just write the function name. And I'm saying like class 1 is a sender function, sorry, sender class or object. Let's say this is object, and then this is the signal which belongs from class 1, and I want to emit this signal which will be connected to slot 1. Sorry, yes, slot 1. So our receiver is class 2, and I want to run the print function or plain print slot. So and is part of class 2 print. See, so this is connect is a part of queue object, but we don't have a queue object here, so I'm going to quickly include it. Queue object class. Yes, now it looks fine. Yes, now this looks fine. I'm also given the pointer address of class 1, pointer address of this one. If you see, if I go inside connect, you can see this is taking a pointer. That's why I'm passing the address. That's why. So if you go to our main.cpp again, so now I have like successfully connected my sender class signal to the receiver class slot. So whenever this signal is emitted, without running the print function, it's going to print our output in the console. So before printing it, I'm gonna run this signal. So to run this signal is just like calling any function. So class 1 dot what is our signal? Print. So this signal is emitted here, right? This is emitted. Now if I run it, it took me to the screen, but if you see it in the console, it says I have printed. See, I have printed. It is coming from where? I haven't even called this function. Sorry, I haven't even called. What is that? I haven't called the print function. I just called the signal. I called this signal, and now after it's calling the signal, it is automatically out this function got executed. You see, out this function got executed. So that's how you can connect signals with the slot. Then whenever you call that signal, your slot or the process automatically happens. That's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one, and we're gonna use this property inside of our game. So I hope this helps and it's not that confusing. If anything confuses you, I recommend you going through Qt's website for signals and slot, because this is a very important topic, and you can always ask me in the comments so I can explain you better. I hope this helped.